Excuse me, sir. Could I sit on your porch until the county plow comes through? I won't bother you. How long have you been standing out there? A while. My car slid off the county road. Are you hurt? I don't think so. You walked here from the road? A little over a mile. In freezing rain? I saw the light in your workshop. The porch is all I need. Have you eaten anything? Not since this morning. But please, I don't want to impose. Come inside. I have soup. Oh no. I saw your little girl asleep by the table. I shouldn't come into a stranger's workshop with his child there. Dad? I'm right here, Lucy. That lady's shaking. I know. Can I get Mom's blue blanket? Yes. Bring it here. Sir, really. I can wait outside. No, ma'am, you can't. Come inside. That was Vincent Rowan, a widowed single dad with $186 in his checking account, 2 late mortgage payments, and a 7-year-old daughter sleeping 10 feet behind him. The city was already trying to buy the workshop that kept them fed. A contractor still owed Vincent $1,200. The last full meal in his refrigerator was meant to stretch through the weekend, and he had just invited an elderly stranger inside when he could barely protect what remained of his own family. Lucy returned carrying a faded blue blanket her mother had made before she died. The woman accepted it with both hands. "Thank you," she whispered. Vincent moved a wooden chair beside the space heater and heated a packet of chicken soup on the small burner near his workbench. Nothing expensive, nothing homemade. But the woman held the warm cup as if someone had handed her something precious. Her name was Eleanor. Vincent did not ask for her last name. A woman her age had just walked more than a mile after sliding into a ditch. Her coat was soaked. Her lips had begun to lose their color. Vincent needed to know whether she could breathe clearly and whether she had hit her head. Everything else could wait. While he called the county's non-emergency line, Eleanor noticed the plans spread beneath his drafting lamp. Ironwood Landing, Shaw Meridian Development. Her fingers tightened around the cup. Vincent saw the reaction. He said nothing. The dispatcher confirmed that both roads into Marrow Creek had been closed. Tow trucks were hours behind. No officer could reach the house safely that night. Vincent was told to keep Eleanor warm and watch for confusion, unusual drowsiness, or any sign that she had stopped shivering. So Eleanor stayed. 6 weeks later, when her billionaire daughter discovered whose door Eleanor had knocked on, would she protect the project threatening Vincent's home, or the single father standing in its way? By morning, freezing rain had turned Marrow Creek into glass. Vincent woke before 5 and checked Eleanor twice. She remained alert, but her hands were still unsteady, and a dark bruise had appeared across one shoulder. As soon as the county road reopened, he drove her to an urgent care clinic 20 minutes away. Lucy stayed in the truck with him while Eleanor checked herself in. Vincent never saw the identification she handed the receptionist. With Eleanor's permission, a nurse later told him she had mild hypothermia, dehydration, and bruising from the car leaving the road. Nothing was broken. There was no serious head injury. She needed rest, fluids, and someone nearby for the next day. Vincent listened more carefully than Eleanor did. That was the kind of man he had become after Rachel died. He checked food labels twice. He tested smoke alarms before the batteries expired. He kept emergency numbers taped inside the pantry door and flashlights in every room. 14 months earlier, Vincent had been the person other families trusted to notice danger before it became an accident. Now, most mornings, he was trying to braid his daughter's hair. "That side's lower," Lucy told him the morning after the storm. "I know. You said that yesterday, and I fixed it yesterday. You put a hat over it. That still counts." Lucy smiled into her cereal. Rachel had once done the braiding without looking. She could pack a lunch, answer a contractor's call, and remind Vincent about a dentist appointment at the same time. She had worked as an electrical forewoman for Northline Structural Services. Vincent had spent 17 years as a construction estimator and safety documentation specialist, reviewing quantities, access plans, and the paper trail contractors often treated as an inconvenience. 3 days before Rachel's death, Vincent reviewed the temporary stairs at a Northline distribution center outside Akron. The number printed on the plan did not match the steel holding the structure up. He sent a warning through Northline's internal system. The system received it. Someone opened it. Then someone marked it resolved. There was no repair report, no second inspection, no engineer's signature. The next morning, the stair assembly shifted during a crew change. Rachel was on it. Northline's final report claimed she had entered a restricted area before clearance. The insurer used that conclusion to dispute most of the family's claim. The company sent condolences. The official record kept the blame. Vincent never returned to a construction site. He converted the workshop behind the house into a small estimating business so he could raise Lucy alone. He reviewed plans, prepared permit packages, and checked budgets for contractors who needed experienced eyes but could not afford a large consulting firm. Some months, it covered everything. That winter, it did not. A contractor still owed him $1,200 and had stopped returning calls. The mortgage was 2 months late. Then Marrow Creek offered to buy his home. The city called it voluntary acquisition. The offer came in a polished envelope carrying the name Ironwood Landing. The $465 million project promised luxury apartments, retail space, a hotel, and hundreds of jobs on the abandoned mill property. The public presentation showed a service road curving around Birch Street. The contractor drawings showed something else. A road running through 11 residential properties. Vincent's workshop stood directly in its path. He could not move the business without losing clients. He could not replace the property for what the city had offered. More importantly, the house carried nearly every ordinary memory Lucy still had of her mother. Rachel's pencil marks remained on the kitchen doorway, measuring Lucy's height one birthday at a time. The cedar chest in the workshop still held the blue blanket she had made. The house was not worth $465 million. To Vincent, it was worth everything. Eleanor intended to leave the day after urgent care. The repair shop had other news. Her rental car needed a front axle assembly, and the storm had delayed the replacement part. Marrow Creek's only hotel had also lost heat after ice brought down a service line. Vincent offered Eleanor the small room above the workshop for another night. She tried to pay him. He refused. She bought groceries instead. Lucy began calling her Miss Eleanor, then shortened it to Miss Ellie without asking permission. At first, Vincent did not leave them alone together. That was not cruelty. It was parenting. Eleanor respected the boundary. She helped Lucy with fractions while Vincent worked 10 feet away. She repaired the torn strap on Lucy's backpack, washed every dish she used, and folded Rachel's blue blanket each morning before returning it to the cedar chest. One evening, Vincent found her looking at a framed photograph in the hallway. Rachel stood in a hard hat and orange safety vest, one arm around Vincent, the other holding a much younger Lucy. "She looks strong," Eleanor said. She was. "What happened?" Vincent looked at the photograph. A warning was ignored. Eleanor saw that the answer cost him something. She did not ask for more. The roads cleared after 4 days. The hotel restored heat. Eleanor could have left town. Instead, she rented a modest furnished room over a pharmacy 2 blocks away. She still came to the Rowan house most afternoons, partly because Lucy expected her, partly because Eleanor had become interested in the Ironwood documents spread across Vincent's table, and partly because, after years of speaking to her own daughter through assistants and unanswered messages, she had found a home where people placed an extra plate on the table without asking what she could offer in return. Vincent noticed Eleanor understood more than she admitted. She recognized old drainage standards. She knew why developers sometimes separated public drawings from contractor revisions. She could read the language of a redevelopment agreement and hear what it was trying not to say, but she never took control of the work. The discovery belonged to Vincent. A small excavation company had sent him a contractor drawing and asked him to estimate drainage costs. The drawing carried the same permit number as the plan shown to Birch Street residents, but the plans were not the same. The public version sent heavy trucks around the northern edge of the former mill property. The contractor version routed them through 11 homes. The public version showed a smaller drainage system. The contractor version required nearly twice the capacity. Then Vincent checked the soil report. The engineer had certified the ground conditions 3 days before the samples were supposedly collected. One plan could reassure the neighborhood. The other could make the development profitable. They could not both be valid. 2 weeks after the storm, Marrow Creek held its first public hearing on Ironwood Landing. Councilman Derek Sloan sat at the center of the long table. He was 52, silver-haired, careful with every word, and almost never visibly angry. Derek did not threaten people. He explained things to them until resistance sounded unreasonable. He spoke about revitalization, tax growth, and responsible transition. He called the displacement of families property consolidation. He called low purchase offers early participation opportunities. When Vincent's name was announced, Derek glanced at the notes in front of him. He knew Vincent had rejected the city's offer. He saw a widower in a repaired brown jacket who worked alone behind his house. He did not see the man who had spent 17 years finding mistakes before concrete was poured. Vincent placed the public plan beneath the chamber camera. Then he placed the contractor version beside it. Which one did the city approve? Derek kept smiling. Technical documents are revised as projects develop. Vincent pointed to Birch Street. One plan keeps the road north of these houses. The other removes all 11. The project's purpose has not changed. The land being taken did. A murmur moved through the chamber. Vincent showed the drainage figures and the dates on the soil report. He kept the explanation simple. One plan had been shown to the public. A different plan had been sent to contractors. The signatures did not match the work. The city engineer requested both documents. After 12 minutes of whispered consultation, the council postponed the vote for 45 days. It was not a victory. It was time. Outside, residents gathered around Vincent. Some wanted reassurance. Others wanted to know whether the city could still force them to sell. Vincent did not promise what he could not guarantee. All we proved is that somebody has to explain the plans, he said. Now we see whether they will. Eleanor waited near the bottom of the steps. You stopped a $465 million vote with 2 sheets of paper. I delayed it. Those families just got 45 more days. Vincent looked back at the crowded building. That matters. By Monday morning, the system had answered. A city inspector arrived at Vincent's workshop with a clipboard and a printed complaint. The home business permit was suspended. The inspector cited an electrical panel that had passed 3 years earlier. A new occupancy classification and accessibility requirements normally applied to businesses receiving walk-in customers. Vincent had no walk-in customers. The fine was $3,650. The estimated upgrades were $28,400. He could appeal. The appeal could take 3 months. Until then, he could not legally operate from the workshop. 2 clients canceled their contracts within 48 hours. Both had received messages claiming Vincent's business was under investigation. By the end of the week, his available balance had dropped below $100. That Friday, Lucy came downstairs carrying a white envelope covered in purple stars. It held the money she had saved for a school trip to the Columbus Science Museum. I don't have to go, she said. Vincent closed the envelope and returned it to her. That is not your bill to pay. But you need money. He crouched in front of her. I need you to be 7. Lucy looked down at the envelope. Your job is school, cartoons, and complaining about my cooking. Your grilled cheese is burned. See, you're doing excellent work. She smiled. Eleanor watched from the kitchen doorway. The next morning, Vincent found a suitcase beside his front door. Eleanor had packed the few things she kept at the house. You're leaving town? I think I should. Why? Derek Sloan didn't know I was involved until after the hearing. Vincent looked at her. You think the inspection happened because of you? I think my questions made someone nervous. He closed my business because I challenged him. And I may be giving him another reason. Vincent carried the suitcase back into the living room. Your room over the pharmacy is still paid for. That isn't the point. I know. He set the suitcase down. Don't let Derek decide when you leave. Lucy appeared in the hallway. Are you still coming Sunday? Eleanor looked at her. Yes, she said quietly. I'm still coming Sunday. Eleanor almost told Vincent the truth that morning. She did not. It was the first real mistake she made with him. She had reasons, but none of them made the silence fair. Eleanor had spent 3 years accusing Shaw Meridian's contractors of hiding safety problems without finding enough evidence to force action. Claire had called her concerns incomplete and emotional. Company lawyers had warned that unsupported accusations could expose Eleanor to litigation and destroy whatever chance remained of repairing her relationship with her daughter. Eleanor feared that if she told Vincent who she was too soon, he would believe Shaw Meridian had sent her to monitor him. She also feared Claire would learn where she was, shut down the quiet investigation, and take control of the records before Eleanor knew what they proved. So she waited, first for the contractor files, then for confirmation, then for one more document. Each day she delayed made the truth harder to tell. 3.5 weeks after the storm, Eleanor arrived at Vincent's kitchen carrying her leather bag. The workshop remained closed, so Vincent had moved his work to the kitchen table. An old laptop sat beside Lucy's crayons and a stack of overdue bills. Eleanor placed a worn business card in front of him. Eleanor Shaw, founding engineer. Shaw Meridian Development. Vincent read it twice. You founded the company, with my husband, and Claire Shaw is your daughter. Yes, Claire Shaw was 44 years old, chief executive of Shaw Meridian Development, and one of the wealthiest women in the Midwest. Business magazines described her as disciplined, efficient, and nearly impossible to pressure. Vincent looked at Eleanor. How long were you going to wait? I kept telling myself I needed proof first. You sat in my house while her company was trying to take it. I know. You watched me lose my permit. I know. And you still said nothing. Eleanor lowered her eyes. I was afraid you would think I had been sent here. Were you? No. Then you should have told me. She did not defend herself. You're right. Vincent pushed the card back toward her. For the first time since the storm, he did not invite her to stay for dinner. Eleanor opened her leather bag. I came to Marrow Creek because a retired construction inspector contacted me. That doesn't fix what you hid. No, but it explains why I came. She removed a thick envelope. The inspector had spent years tracking unresolved safety complaints connected to Northline Structural Services. He died of heart failure before Eleanor reached him. His daughter gave Eleanor the remaining papers. The files showed a pattern. Safety warnings marked resolved without proof. Inspection dates changed after the fact. Supervisors rewarded for avoiding delays. Northline was now the lead structural contractor on Ironwood Landing. Eleanor had left Shaw Meridian's board 3 years earlier after Claire refused to suspend Northline based on evidence the company's lawyers considered incomplete. Eleanor believed the pattern was real. Claire believed her mother was asking the company to act before the claims could be verified. Mother and daughter stopped listening long before they stopped speaking. The storm was an accident, Eleanor said. Meeting you was an accident. Staying silent was my choice. Vincent said nothing. I'm sorry, she continued. You deserved to hear it from me sooner. That apology did not erase his anger, but it allowed the conversation to continue. Vincent unlocked the cabinet holding Rachel's files. He opened the original warning email from the week she died. Eleanor recognized the tracking code. Northline's archive showed the warning had entered the system Monday morning. It was opened twice. At 2:36 Tuesday afternoon, someone changed the status to resolved. Rachel died Wednesday. There was no document showing a repair. No photograph. No inspection. No second calculation. For 14 months, Vincent had wondered whether his warning had been overlooked in a crowded system. Now the record showed something worse. They saw it, he said. Eleanor looked at the screen. Yes, and somebody closed it. Vincent sat very still. He had imagined finding proof many times. He thought it would bring relief or rage. Instead, it brought silence. Rachel had gone to work believing that when someone found danger, the people above her would respond. Someone had responded. They changed a word on a screen. Eleanor asked to use Vincent's phone. This time, she called her daughter. Claire answered on the second ring. Eleanor told her to come to Marrow Creek and bring the company's compliance director. Claire asked whether her mother was hurt. Eleanor said the physical danger had passed. The other danger had not. When Eleanor gave Vincent's name, Claire went quiet. Rachel Rowan's disputed claim had crossed Shaw Meridian's legal department because Northline had requested contractual protection from any lawsuit. Claire had seen the surname. She had never seen the family. I'll come, she said. Claire arrived 4 days later. She stepped from a black SUV wearing a charcoal coat, accompanied by Dana Brooks, Shaw Meridian's director of compliance. There was no camera crew and no public relations team. Claire entered the Rowan kitchen prepared to recover her mother from a stranger who might have discovered her identity and found an opportunity. Then she saw Eleanor wearing Rachel's old green cardigan. She saw Lucy working on fractions beside her. She saw the city citation lying next to a box of crayons, and she saw Vincent cutting the crust from his daughter's sandwich while Dana opened the first contractor file. Lucy looked up. Are you Miss Ellie's daughter? Claire said she was. She was really cold that night. Lucy returned to her worksheet. There was no accusation in her voice. That made the sentence harder to hear. Claire asked whether Vincent had contacted reporters or demanded money. He had done neither. He placed the 2 Ironwood plans, Rachel's warning, and the permit suspension on the kitchen table. I'm not asking you to pay me. What are you asking? Reopen Rachel's record. Give the workshop a real inspection. Stop Ironwood until the public sees the actual plan. Claire explained that she could suspend Shaw Meridian's participation, but she could not overturn a city order or declare Northline legally responsible for Rachel's death. Vincent already knew that. He was not asking Claire to become a judge. He was asking her to use the authority she had. Dana began preserving the company's records that afternoon. The first review confirmed the tracking code and closure time. It also identified the employee credentials used to close Vincent's warning. They belonged to Martin Kessler, Northline's regional operations director. Kessler now supervised Ironwood Landing. But the evidence was not complete. Claire wanted the investigation handled privately. She proposed suspending Northline, reopening Rachel's claim, and negotiating with Marrow Creek before making a public accusation. We can stop the damage without announcing findings we haven't finished verifying, she said. Vincent looked at her. You want to keep this inside the company? I want to verify it. And the families losing their homes? They'll be protected while we review the records. Vincent glanced at the closure notice beside Lucy's crayons. They were told that before the inspection started. Claire stiffened. You think I came here to hide this? I think you still want control of the story. Claire did not answer. For the first time, Eleanor did not step between them. The investigation continued for the next 9 days. Dana issued a preservation hold. Outside counsel extracted archived email logs. A forensic accountant reviewed the project's public engagement payments. Vincent compared inspection dates against property records and acquisition refusals. The work did not produce an instant confession. Some emails were missing. Several invoices looked legitimate until the accountants requested the work behind them. One Northline supervisor claimed the contractor plan had never been intended for construction. Then Vincent found a truck-turning calculation attached to a private bid package. It used the disputed road through Birch Street. The company had not merely drawn the second route. It had priced the project around it. The evidence grew one piece at a time. 11 homes sat along that route. All 11 owners had rejected purchase offers. All 11 properties were inspected within 6 weeks. No other neighborhood in Marrow Creek received comparable enforcement. Then the accountant found $172,000 in community consulting payments to Sloan Civic Strategies. The company belonged to Derek Sloan's brother-in-law. There were invoices, but when the lawyers asked for reports, meeting records, or completed work, none could be produced. Claire still hesitated to release the findings before the outside review was complete. Then Derek made his final move. As the 6th week began, Marrow Creek posted a temporary closure order on Vincent's workshop, citing a potential electrical hazard. The panel had not changed since the earlier inspection. A local website published a photograph of Eleanor entering Vincent's house and accused Vincent of manipulating the elderly mother of a billionaire. His address appeared beneath the article. Lucy stayed home from school after strangers began driving slowly past the property. Claire offered private security and a hotel suite. Vincent accepted the security outside the house. He refused the hotel. I'm not moving Lucy because somebody printed a lie. That afternoon, Derek contacted Claire's office. He spoke carefully. His recorded message said, "Once the compliance pressure makes continued operation impractical, Mr. Rowan may become more receptive to the acquisition offer. I believe the situation can still be managed if Shaw Meridian maintains its commitment." On its own, the language sounded administrative. Placed beside the targeted inspections, the closure order, and the payments to his relative, the meaning was clear. Derek had expected the pressure to work. Claire sat at Vincent's kitchen table while Lucy colored a house with 4 people standing in front of it. For years, Claire had told herself she could not personally read every report or supervise every contractor. That part was true. What she had not admitted was that Shaw Meridian rewarded people who prevented delays and treated warnings as obstacles. She had built a system in which silence was profitable. "I thought scale meant trusting the people below me," she said. "You have to trust them," Vincent replied. "Then what should I have done? Make sure telling you the truth doesn't punish them." Claire looked toward Rachel's photograph. "It's not that simple." "No, How do you know it would have changed anything? Vincent looked at the closed workshop through the kitchen window. Because silence is how Rachel died. That night, Claire informed Shaw Meridian's board that the company would withdraw from the current Ironwood agreement, suspend Northline, and cooperate with the city ethics investigation. Her attorneys warned that a public statement could expose the company to litigation. Claire understood. She also understood that correcting everything privately would preserve the same imbalance that had allowed the harm. Vincent had taken the truth into a public room because nobody with power had listened in private. 6 weeks to the day after Eleanor knocked on the workshop door, Marrow Creek City Hall was filled beyond capacity. Residents stood along the walls. Local reporters occupied the rear row. Derek Sloan sat at the center table, composed and confident. He expected Claire to protect a $465 million investment. Vincent approached the microphone first. Lucy sat beside Eleanor in the third row, holding her father's old work glove in both hands. Vincent showed the chamber the 2 plans. He explained the hidden road. He showed the soil report certified before the samples existed. He laid out the inspections targeting the properties needed for the contractor route. Then Derek interrupted. He held up an invoice from Vincent's business. 3 months earlier, Vincent had been paid $650 by the excavation company that sent him the contractor plan. Derek turned toward the crowd. Mr. Rowan has presented himself as an independent citizen. He was paid by a company seeking work on Ironwood Landing. The room changed. Several council members looked toward Vincent. A reporter began typing. Derek continued. He received a private contractor document because he wanted work connected to this project. His objections began only after that work failed to develop. For the first time that morning, Derek appeared to have found a way out. Vincent did not deny the invoice. The company paid me to estimate drainage quantities, he said. That is how I received the second plan. So you had a financial interest. I had a $650 job, and you wanted more. No. Derek leaned back. That is your statement. Vincent placed the original email request beneath the camera. The excavation company had asked him to price the drawing because it did not match the public documents. The date was 9 days before Vincent learned his own property lay on the contractor route. Then he displayed the estimate. At the bottom, Vincent had written, "Do not really on quantities. Until permit drawing conflict is resolved." He had warned the contractor before he ever spoke at City Hall. Still, Derek pressed the point. These are private documents provided through a bidder. The city has never confirmed that this route was approved. That was when Claire stood. Derek's expression relaxed slightly. He believed the person with the most money in the room would protect the deal. Claire walked to the microphone. My company has confirmed that the second route was included in Shaw Meridian's contractor bid package. The room went silent. It was not an unauthorized sketch. Contractors were asked to price it. Derek's brief advantage disappeared. Claire introduced herself as chief executive of Shaw Meridian Development. She confirmed that her company had not ordered the inspections of Vincent's property. Then she acknowledged the larger truth. Our investment created the leverage that made those inspections useful. She announced that Shaw Meridian was withdrawing from the current Ironwood agreement. All Northline contracts were suspended. The company would provide its records to independent investigators and the appropriate state authorities. Claire did not claim innocence. She said Shaw Meridian had rewarded speed without adequately protecting the people who reported risk. Dana distributed the payment records connecting the project account to Derek's relative. Claire then played Derek's recorded message. Once the compliance pressure makes continued operation impractical, Mr. Rowan may become more receptive to the acquisition offer. Derek called the message a routine discussion of regulatory circumstances. The city ethics attorney stood. She confirmed that Derek had failed to disclose his family's financial interest in Sloan's civic strategies. She also confirmed that inspection requests had originated through communications connected to his development office. The council removed Derek as chair of the development committee. He was barred from participating in any Ironwood decision. Vincent's fines and closure order were suspended pending an independent inspection. The redevelopment agreement was placed on hold. The evidence was referred to the Ohio Ethics Commission and the county prosecutor. Derek was not arrested inside the chamber. No judge declared the case finished that night. Real justice took longer. But when he left the room, the residents he had called obstacles watched him walk out without authority. Outside City Hall, Claire found Eleanor at the bottom of the steps. For 2 years, mother and daughter had communicated through brief messages, assistance, and long periods of silence. Claire looked back at the building. I kept telling myself I needed more proof. You have it now, Eleanor said. I know. Eleanor took her hand. Nothing between them was fully repaired, but neither woman let go. Claire later approached Vincent. She apologized for questioning his motives and for trying to keep the investigation private. Vincent did not rush to comfort her. You don't need me to make this easier for you. I know. What matters is what happens next. Claire nodded. I understand. 8 months later, Derek Sloan appeared before a county judge. Investigators proved that he had used city inspections to pressure homeowners, concealed his family's financial interest, and helped direct project money toward a company providing no documented services. He pleaded guilty to felony bribery and tampering with public records. The court sentenced him to 20 months in state custody, ordered repayment of the $172,000, and barred him from holding public office. Before sentencing, Derek made a brief statement. I chose Vincent Rowan because I believed grief had made him easier to pressure. I knew his daughter depended on that workshop. I called it redevelopment because that sounded better than admitting what I was doing. He had recognized his mistake. That did not erase the consequence. The independent inspection found Vincent's workshop safe. The city restored his permit and returned the fine. Rachel's case was reopened after investigators confirmed that Northline had closed the warning without corrective documentation. Her name was removed from the finding that had blamed her for entering an unsafe area. Vincent later opened Rowan Safety and Estimating. It was not a large company. 2 employees, 3 desks, a new sign above the old workshop door. Eleanor rented a small house 3 blocks away. She picked Lucy up from school twice a week and kept Rachel's blue blanket folded over the back of her sofa. Claire began visiting Marrow Creek on Sundays. At first, she came for Eleanor. Then she stayed for dinner. She and Vincent did not fall in love quickly. They disagreed too often for that. Claire believed some projects could rebuild struggling towns. Vincent believed no project deserved trust without accountability. But neither of them walked away when the conversation became uncomfortable. That was new for both of them. One spring evening, Lucy's school held a music performance. Vincent arrived early and sat beside Eleanor in the second row. One chair remained empty on his other side. Eleanor noticed. She said nothing. The lights dimmed. Children walked onto the stage. Just before the teacher raised her hands, Claire entered through the rear doors. No driver, no assistant. She carried 2 paper cups of coffee. She stopped beside Vincent. Is this seat taken? He looked at the empty chair. I saved it. Claire sat down. On stage, Lucy found them in the audience. Her eyes moved from Vincent to Eleanor, then to Claire. She smiled so widely that she missed the first note. After the performance, the 4 of them walked toward the parking lot. Lucy held Eleanor's hand and talked without stopping. Then she looked at Claire. Are you coming Sunday too? Claire looked at Vincent. She did not answer for him. Vincent took one of the coffee cups from her hand. I'll save you a seat. Claire changed Vincent's life by choosing the truth when silence would have protected her. Do you think he was right to give her a chance? Tell us in the comments. And if you believe quiet fathers deserve stories where courage, family, and integrity still matter, subscribe to Soul Dad Stories. Another father everyone underestimated is waiting in the next story.